Hey everyone, welcome to the channel. I'm Lowbit, and today we're diving into what might be the biggest disappointment of 2025 so far, MindsEye. This game was hyped as the next big thing from the guy behind GTA, but instead, it's become a cautionary tale of how not to launch a game. From glitches, to broken promises, to layoffs at the studio, there's a lot to unpack, so let's get right into it.
Oh, shit. Here we go again.
To understand why the backlash has been so harsh, you have to go back to the beginning. MindsEye wasn't just another game getting a flashy marketing cycle. This was pitched as a spiritual successor to GTA. Why? Because Leslie Benzies, one of the key creative forces behind Grand Theft Auto 3, Vice City, San Andreas, and GTA 5, was behind it. That pedigree alone guaranteed attention. Fans had been saying for years, if anyone could shake up the open world genre again, it'd be him. The marketing team led into that reputation heavily. Teaser trailers promised a cinematic open world where you could live a double life, a high octane action adventure by day, a hacker underworld thriller by night. That pitch was ambitious. Branching narratives, seamless driving and shooting, a dynamic city with living NPCs, and even never before seen AI driven systems that would make every playthrough unique. It was the kind of promise that sparks imagination. People started calling it GTA meets Watchdog meets Cyberpunk months before it even had a release date. And because Benzies had been absent from the industry for years, this felt like a comeback story, not just another game, the game that could rival Rockstar and prove there was room for more giants in the sandbox genre. But, as we all know, hype is a dangerous currency. The higher you build expectations, the more catastrophic the crash if you don't deliver. Fast forward to release day, and reality hit like a truck. Unfortunately, MindsEye dropped in a state so unstable it barely resembled the product shown in trailers. Within hours, social media was flooded with clips of game-breaking bugs, cars sinking into asphalt, NPCs floating in T-poses, enemies phasing through walls, entire missions broke if you interacted with objects out of order, quest markers disappeared randomly, leaving players stuck. And the performance? Brutal. Even on next-gen consoles and $2,000 gaming PCs, frame rates tanked to single digits in the middle of firefights. One streamer reported MindsEye hard crashed 6 times in under 2 hours. Another joked, beating the game means beating the loading screens. Some bugs were hilarious in that so bad it's funny way. Cops spawning in the middle of solid walls, pedestrians clipping halfway into the ground and dragging themselves like zombies, cars rubber banding at light speed until they exploded. But when laughter turns into frustration, that's when players start asking for refunds. And that happened fast. Steam reviews plummeted to overwhelmingly negative within days. On Metacritic, critics gave it some of the lowest scores for a major AAA release in recent memories. What was marketed as a generational leap looked frankly like an early access project that escaped QA. But even worse than the bugs was the realization that MindsEye wasn't just technically broken. It was fundamentally shallow. The technical issues were fixable, but the missing heart, not so much. Let's break it down. Branching narratives? Heavily oversold. Marketing promised meaningful player choice shaping the city's fate. In reality, though, most dialogue options led back to the same outcomes. Entire character arcs were reduced to cutscenes with barely any player input. Next-gen AI systems? Non-existent. NPCs wandered on short loops, repeating the same animations. Cops chased you a block or two, then gave up. Compare that to even older GTA titles where emergent chaos gave the world personality. MindsEye City felt like a set piece, not a living space. Combat and driving? Clunky. Trailers showed fluid shootouts and Hollywood-style car chases. The final product delivered sluggish controls, floaty cars, and gunplay that fell decades behind modern standards. Hacking mechanics? Marketed as a major innovation. In practice, though, it boiled down to holding a button and waiting for a meter to fill. There was no depth, no creativity, nothing that lived up to the promise of a next-gen mechanic. And this is where the disappointment hit hardest. Technical issues can be patched, but a lack of depth, creativity, or soul, that's the core of the game. and it just simply wasn't there. Fans started calling it a Frankenstein's monster that borrowed ideas. GTA's driving, Cyberpunk's aesthetic, Watch Dogs hacking, stitched together without understanding why those mechanics worked in the first place. The backlash was immediate and intense. Players demanded refunds en masses. Content creators made entire compilations mocking the bugs. News outlets shifted headlines from the next big thing to the next industry disaster. And then came the human cost. Reports surfaced that the studio Build a Rocket Boy laid off a significant portion of its staff shortly after launch, which should have been a triumphant moment for a new studio, instead turned into an industry cautionary tale. Even worse, leadership didn't handle it well. Instead of taking accountability, statements blamed external sabotage, unrealistic expectations, and even targeted negativity from the community. That tone-deaf messaging backfired spectacularly. Gamers aren't stupid. They can forgive failure if studios admit mistakes and show a roadmap for improvement. But shifting blame, that destroys trust. And once you lose the community, it's nearly impossible to earn it back. So where does MindsEye stand a few months after release? The studio has pushed out hotfixes addressing crashes and stabilizing performance, which is a step in the right direction. But the deeper problems, like the hollow design, the lack of meaningful content, can't be patched away. Unlike No Man's Sky or Final Fantasy XIV, which had a strong core to rebuild from, MindsEye doesn't seem to have that foundation. It feels like a product designed to ride the hype wave rather than a vision-driven project. And if the heart isn't there, no amount of polish will fix it. At this point, it risks being remembered less as a bold experiment and more as a case study in how not to launch a game. In gaming history, it may sit alongside the titles like Anthem or X Rebirth, ambitious on paper, catastrophic in execution. And that brings us to the bigger question. What does MindsEye tell us about the state of AAA gaming? First, it highlights the danger of overhyping projects. Studios that lean too heavily on reputation, whether it's a legendary developer's name or a flashy trailer, end up creating expectations they can't meet. Second, it shows how fragile trust is. Gamers will forgive rough launches if they believe in the vision, like No Man's Sky or Cyberpunk. But if the game feels like a soulless product, forgiveness is off the table, and rightfully so. Third, it's a reminder that pedigree isn't everything. Having the GTA guy on board wasn't enough. Without the right team culture, resources, and leadership, even the most promising project can collapse. And finally, MindsEye might serve as a warning for the industry's obsession with chasing the next big thing, instead of refining what already works. Not every game needs to reinvent the wheel. Sometimes, what players want is focus, polish, and creativity, not bloated promises. So what's the verdict on MindsEye? It's not just a buggy launch. It's not just broken promises. It's the sense that the game was never built on passion to begin with. And that's why players are so disappointed. But hey, maybe you disagree. Did you play MindsEye? Do you think it deserves a second chance? Or is it already dead on arrival? Let me know in the comments, and I'm curious where you stand. If you enjoyed this breakdown, give it a like. It really helps a new channel get noticed. And if you want more honest takes on the highs and lows of the gaming industry, hit subscribe so you don't miss what's next. Thanks for watching. I'm Lowbit, and I'll see you in the next video.